Grab a glass and get out here. We're drinking Siete Leguas Still Strength. Now, first thing with this bottle, unfortunately, Siete Leguas all use screw caps, which is technically better for sealing, but doesn't have the same sensation as a nice cork pop. But such is life. Now, Siete Leguas is a brand that I learned about from my wife's family, my in-laws. They've introduced me to a few different brands, and I've gotten to try several of the Siete Leguas offerings, the Blanco, Reposado, and Añejo. The Añejo is really good. The Blanco is super solid as a mixer or, really basic sipper. Fantastic product line overall. But I got really excited when I found out they had a still strength version of this. Could not find it in my area of Wisconsin, so I ended up having to drive down into Illinois and found it at a Binny's. I guess Illinois is good for something. Anyway, yeah, I was really excited to find this. If you don't know, tequilas have a much lower distilling proof than whiskeys or bourbons. Tequilas are not allowed to be distilled to over 110 proof, whereas whiskey can be distilled all the way up to 160, depending on the classification, and then it will get typically barreled at 125. Tequila will be distilled to up to 110, though some distilleries go much lower. So, Siete Leguas, they're distilling only to 47%. So if you think about it, a 80 proof tequila versus a 180 proof whiskey, 80 proof whiskey is going to have a lot more water added to it to get down to that proof versus the tequila. So that the difference between an 80 proof tequila and still strength is much closer than you might think. Regardless, I was excited to find this, had to pick it up. So this is Siete Leguas Still Strength from NUM 1120 or 1120. All the distilleries in Mexico have NOM numbers, N-O-M. It is out of Jalisco, Mexico, like most tequilas in the US market. It is made from 100% blue rubber agave. It is unaged, so a Blanco, but it is at the still strength of 74%, hence big 74 on the front, and 94 proof. The MSRP is about $70. I've seen it available for as high as $120. Definitely wouldn't pay that. Try and keep towards the lower end of the range, as always. This isn't one to go crazy for by any means. Time to get into this. So as I'm swirling it around in the glass, it is really sticking to the sidewalls. It looks sticky, which is great. And that's going to come from that higher proof. It smells really good. It is obviously clear. Notes on the nose, I'm getting tons of agave. And it's a mix between like a raw agave, like almost aloe vera, and cooked agave. And then there's also this earthiness, kind of like smelling a branch. Yeah, so you tear a branch off of a tree and smell that. And I'm getting that kind of note right now. That's actually quite appealing. It almost smells like the outdoors. I am outdoors, of course. Welcome to Pours Outdoors. If you haven't noticed. And it smells great. I really enjoy how natural it smells. I think that really, it smells alive in a plant way. Take that for what it's worth. On the palate, those notes from the nose transfer over completely. Lots of aged agave. There's a very balanced sweetness. The sweetness is balanced by some baking spices and still some of that This is an unaged spirit, but there's this nice woody flavor to it, almost as if it were aged. I get more barrel notes, even though, again, this has not spent any time in a barrel, but compared to the Siete Leguas Reposado, this almost tastes like it has more barrel influence, which the Siete Leguas Reposado it's on the young end of the Reposados, so that might be part of it, but there's really nice complexity to this where you start with some of that those sweet agave notes, and it transfers into this really lively minerality and I want to say like cardamom or something like that. I'm not sure if that's quite the right spice, but it's this dark, very dark cooking spice with the intensity of a cinnamon, but much darker. It's like if you take white sugar that has that brightness versus a molasses that is a very heavy flavor. If cinnamon is the white sugar, whatever spice I'm getting here is like the molasses. It's dark, it's mature, it just has these layers. There's minerality on there, but not like their Blanco, their 80 proof or 40% Blanco. This is much more full, complex. There's not a lot of water between the two. It's only a decrease of 7% or 14 proof points, but the flavor difference is very noticeable. This is a really nice upgrade. That's great. Really like this. So, in terms of why to buy, this is a tequila brand with a very long history and very high quality. It is additive free. It's an enthusiast style tequila. So if you are drinking tequila regularly and you're looking for something that's going to bring more intensity, isn't going to be as necessarily sweet sipping, but has a lot of complexity to it, a lot of nuances, this is going to be a really good tequila for you. It sticks into those true agave flavors. It's like I'm tasting the entire agave plant, from the cooked agave to a touch of the nectar and even down to the roots. I wonder if these are some older agave plants, which they likely are, out of such a high quality distillery as Siete Leguas. They're probably using quite old agave, and it's really, really solid. Your alternatives to a product like this, I would say the Don Fulano high proof. It's going to be a little, right about the same price point, higher proof. That one I think is 108, 110. And again, like always, when I'm recommending a tequila, it is going to be additive free. I will not recommend a tequila that has any additives. I just refuse to. So Don Fulano has a very nice high proof. It's their Fuerte. It's a darker label. Lalo Blanco high proof is again in that like 115 to 105, 110 range. Very high quality, a little cleaner, a little crisper. It's not going to necessarily have that same intensity of those dark intensity that you get on this. Manuscrito, especially for folks here in Wisconsin, Manuscrito, their Capítulo 2, or Chapter 2, is a really nice product with founders from Wisconsin who went down to Mexico and found a really high quality distillery to produce a tequila for them. And those are going to be a little bit cheaper. They have several products, including a high proof reposado that I will definitely be reviewing later. But their Chapter 2 is their high proof Blanco, and very good. And then finally, the most expensive from this list is going to be the Cascanes 10 year, or forgive me, not 10 year, but Cascanes number 10. That's going to be more expensive, probably in the $120 range, but they're a very high quality tequila brand that I would trust any of their expressions. I just wish they weren't so expensive. So with that, salud, go touch grass.